Okay, so picture this. It's Sunday night, you're lying in bed, scrolling through your phone, and you see that your 401k balance finally hit six figures. You should feel amazing, right? You've been diligent, you've been responsible, you've been doing everything the personal finance gurus told you to do. But instead, you're lying there feeling anxious, because deep down, you know that even with that six-figure balance, you're not on track. You run the retirement calculator for the 100th time, and the numbers still don't add up. You're going to be 70 years old, still working, still stressed, still one medical emergency away from financial catastrophe. And here's the really frustrating part. You've been doing everything right. You've been saving, you've been investing, you've been living below your means. So why does it feel like you're running on a treadmill that keeps speeding up while you're already sprinting as fast as you can? My name is Jack, and I spend way too much time thinking about why hardworking, responsible people still end up financially stressed despite doing all the things they're supposed to do. If you're someone who's been saving diligently, investing consistently, maybe even driving a used car and skipping the daily latte, but you still feel like you're not getting ahead the way you thought you would, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Okay, so listen up. Here's the thing. We need to talk about an investment that the average person will completely ignore until they hit their mid-40s, look around, and realize they've made a catastrophic mistake that's going to cost them literally millions of dollars. And by that point, it's not too late. Nothing's ever really too late, but it's a hell of a lot harder to fix. Now, before you click away thinking this is going to be some boring lecture about starting to invest early, which you should do, obviously, I want you to hear me out, because what I'm about to tell you is going to fundamentally change how you think about your financial future. According to research from the Boston College Center for Retirement Research, the average American reaches peak earning years between ages 45 and 54. But here's what's wild. For most people, their actual earnings peak around age 48, and then that's it. They plateau. Some people even see their real income decline when adjusted for inflation. Meanwhile, their expenses are still climbing. Kids are heading to college, healthcare costs are increasing, their parents might need financial support, and that retirement date that seemed so far away is now 15 years out, and the math is getting really uncomfortable. But here's what most people don't realize. There's a window, a specific window in your 20s, 30s, and early 40s where you have the opportunity to make an investment that compounds faster than any stock, any real estate, any cryptocurrency could ever dream of compounding. I'm talking about investing in your earning capacity, your human capital, your ability to generate income. And yeah, I know, you've heard this before. Invest in yourself, read books, take courses, blah, blah, blah. But stay with me, because we're going to break down the actual mathematics of this in a way that's going to make you genuinely angry about all the time you've wasted. And then we're going to fix it. So let's start with something that's going to sound obvious, but that we somehow completely forget when we're making financial decisions. You are walking around with an asset that is worth more than anything else you will ever own. Not your house, not your investment portfolio, not your car, your watch, or your Bitcoin. It's your ability to earn money over your lifetime. Economists call this your human capital, and for most people it's worth between $1 million and $4 million. Some people it's worth $10 million or more. Let me give you the actual math. If you're 25 years old and you're making $50,000 a year and you work until you're 65, that's 40 years. Even if your salary never increases by a single dollar, that's $2 million in lifetime earnings. That's the assets sitting on your personal balance sheet. Now, obviously, your salary will increase. With normal cost of living adjustments and promotions, let's say your average income over those 40 years is actually $75,000. Now you're looking at $3 million in lifetime earnings. That's a $3 million asset. Write that number down. Think about it. You have a $3 million asset. Now, here's my question. If you owned a $3 million piece of real estate, would you spend money maintaining it? Would you invest in improvements that would increase its value? Would you protect it against damage and depreciation? Of course you would. That would be insane not to. But when it comes to your human capital, your $3 million earning machine, most people spend more money annually on car payments than they do on deliberately, strategically increasing the value of that asset.
This is where it gets really interesting, because I'm going to show you numbers that are going to make you furious with yourself. And I need you to stay with me here, because this is the most important section of this entire video. Let's say you're 28 years old, making $55,000 a year. You're saving 10% of your income, so that's $5,500 going into your 401k and IRAs. You're being responsible. Your parents would be proud. Over the next 37 years until you're 65, assuming you get a 3% annual raise, basically just keeping pace with inflation, and your investments return 7% annually, you'll accumulate about $1.4 million by retirement. Not bad, you did okay. But now let's run a different scenario. What if at age 28 you invested $5,000 and 6 months of focused effort, we're talking 10 hours a week, which is less than you spend watching Netflix, to acquire a high-value skill that increased your income by just 20%? That takes you from $55,000 to $66,000, an extra $11,000 per year. You maintain the same 10% savings rate, so now you're putting away $6,600 annually instead of $5,500. That's an extra $1,100 going into investments. By age 65, that scenario results in approximately $1.7 million in retirement savings. That's $300,000 more than the first scenario. Your return on that $5,000 investment? That's a 6,000% return. But wait, it gets better. Or worse, depending on how you look at it, because this is where most people realize they've been optimizing the wrong thing their entire lives. That 20% income increase doesn't just affect your savings, it affects everything. Your Social Security benefits are higher because they're based on your lifetime earnings. Your ability to pay off your mortgage early improves. Your emergency fund is easier to maintain. You have more flexibility to negotiate, to take strategic risks, to invest in other opportunities. And here's the real kicker. That 20% increase isn't a one-time thing. When you develop a valuable skill, you don't just get one raise, you get access to a higher tier of jobs. When you job hop, you're negotiating from a higher baseline. When you get percentage-based raises, they're calculated on a bigger number. So in reality, that one-time $5,000 investment at age 28 doesn't just create a 20% increase that stays flat for 37 years, it creates a compounding advantage that widens every single year. Let's be more realistic. You make that investment at age 28. By 30, you've leveraged that skill into a position paying $70,000. By 35, you're at $95,000. By 40, you're at $115,000. By 45, you're at $140,000. Compared to the original trajectory where you hit $55,000 at 28 and just coast on 3% annual increases, by 45, you'd be making about $78,000. The difference at age 45 alone is $62,000 per year, and you've got 20 years of career ahead of you. Over your entire career, that one $5,000 investment at age 28 could easily result in an additional $1.5 to $2 million in lifetime earnings. Not investment returns, earnings. Show me a mutual fund that does that.
Now look, if the math is this clear, if the return on investment is this obvious, why doesn't everyone do this? Because the human brain is absolutely terrible at making decisions when the costs are immediate and the benefits are delayed. This is not your fault. You are not broken. You are just human. There's a concept in behavioral economics called hyperbolic discounting, and it explains basically every bad financial decision you've ever made. Here's how it works. Your brain values things that happen right now way, way more than things that happen in the future, like irrationally more. Studies show that people would rather have $100 today than $150 in a year, even though that's a guaranteed 50% return, and literally no investment in the world reliably offers that. So when you think about spending $3,000 on a professional certification or a coding boot camp or advanced training in your field, your brain immediately feels the pain of that $3,000 leaving your bank account right now. It's visceral, it's real, it hurts. But the $50,000 in additional lifetime earnings? That's abstract. That's in the future. That's theoretical. Your brain doesn't feel it the same way. Meanwhile, when you invest $3,000 in an index fund, your brain feels good. You get a statement. You see the number go up, hopefully.
You feel like an investor. You feel responsible. You can check it every day if you want. There's immediate feedback. But when you invest $3,000 in developing a skill, there's no statement. There's no daily price update. You just have to trust that showing up, doing the work, building the capability is going to pay off 6 months or a year down the road. And this is exactly why most people spend 40 years diligently contributing to their 401k while completely ignoring their human capital. One feels safe and measurable, the other feels risky and ambiguous. But here's what drives me crazy. The safe investment, the one that feels comfortable, has a guaranteed return of maybe 7 to 10% annually if you're lucky. The risky investment, the one that feels uncomfortable, has actual real-world documented returns of 200 to 500% over a lifetime. We have it completely backwards.
So let's talk about some data that should fundamentally change how you think about your financial priorities. According to Georgetown University's Center for Education in the Workforce, and this is one of the most comprehensive long-term studies on earnings ever conducted, the median lifetime earnings for someone with a high school diploma is about $1.6 million. For someone with a bachelor's degree, $2.8 million. That's a $1.2 million difference. Now, before you panic if you don't have a degree, stay with me, because the point isn't that everyone needs to go to college. The point is that skills matter, capabilities matter. Your ability to deliver value in the marketplace matters enormously. Here's another stat. The Federal Reserve did a study tracking income trajectories over 30 years, and they found that individuals who consistently invested in skill development through formal education, certifications, training programs, whatever, earned on average 70% more over their lifetimes than those who didn't, even when controlling for initial education levels. 70% more over a lifetime. That's not a typo. But here's where it gets even more interesting. LinkedIn publishes an annual workplace learning report, and in their most recent data, they found that 94% of employees would stay at a company longer if it invested in their career development, but only 30% of employees felt their company was actually doing this. What does that tell you? It tells you that most people want to develop their skills, they know it's important, but they're waiting for someone else to do it for them. They're waiting for permission. They're waiting for someone to hand them the opportunity. And while they're waiting, they're losing years. Years that they can never get back. Years where their earning capacity could have been compounding. Let me give you some specific, concrete examples of what I'm talking about, because I think this stuff is way too abstract for most people. Sarah is 32 years old. She works in marketing, making $58,000 a year. She's good at her job, but she's hit a ceiling. All the senior positions require skills in data analytics and marketing automation that she doesn't have. She finds a 6-month online certification program that costs $3,500. It's a lot of money. It's scary. She has to put it on a credit card because she doesn't have $3,500 sitting in her checking account. But she does it.
All right, enough theory, enough math, enough objections. Let's talk about exactly what you need to do, step by step, to actually make this happen. Step 1. Calculate your current human capital value. Take your current annual income, multiply it by the number of years until you plan to retire. Factor in maybe 2 to 3% annual increases. That gives you your baseline human capital value. For most people, this number is between $1.5 million and $4 million. Write it down, look at it. This is the asset you're managing. Step 2. Identify your highest leverage skill gap. This is critical. You don't just pick a random skill because it sounds interesting. You identify the specific capability that's blocking you from the next level. How do you find this? 3 ways. First, look at job postings for positions 1 or 2 levels above where you are now. What skills show up repeatedly in those descriptions that you don't currently have? Second, ask people who are already where you want to be. What skill was most valuable in getting them there? Third, look at what your company or your industry is investing in. Is it data analytics, cloud infrastructure, project management, digital marketing? Whatever it is, that's where the money is going, and that's where the opportunities are. Step 4. Commit the money. Treat this like a mandatory bill. Set up a separate savings account if you need to. Set aside $200 or $300 a month until you hit your target.
If you're investing in your 401k, invest in yourself too. At minimum, allocate 5 to 10% of what you're putting into retirement toward your skill development. And if you need to finance it, if you need to put it on a credit card or take out a small personal loan, do it. This is the highest return investment you'll ever make. Paying 15% interest on a $3,000 balance for a year is $450. If that investment increases your income by $15,000, you've still gained $14,550 in year one alone. Step 5. Schedule the time like it's non-negotiable. Block it on your calendar. Treat it like a meeting with your future self, because that's exactly what it is. Most skill development programs require somewhere between 5 and 15 hours per week for 3 to 6 months. That's it. That's the commitment. You're not training for an Ironman. You're not getting a PhD. You're making a focused, time-bound investment. Wake up an hour earlier. Stay up an hour later. Use your lunch break. Use the time you currently spend scrolling social media or watching TV. 6 months. That's all I'm asking for. 6 months of focused effort that could change the next 30 years of your financial life. Step 6. Make your increased value visible. This is the step most people skip, and it's why their skill development doesn't translate into income growth. As you're developing the skill, start applying it at work. Volunteer for projects that use it. Make sure your manager sees it. Update your LinkedIn. Update your resume. Start having conversations with recruiters. Don't wait until you're 100% ready or fully certified to start leveraging the skill. Start making yourself more valuable immediately. Step 7. Track the ROI. Every 6 months, calculate the financial impact. Did you get a raise, a promotion, a new job offer? By how much? Then calculate your actual return on investment. If you spent $3,000 in 6 months of effort and your income increased by $12,000, that's a 400% return in the first year alone. Write it down, make it real, make it visible, and then, this is important, do it again. Because the people who really build wealth aren't the ones who make one smart investment. They're the ones who make smart investments consistently over time. The compounding mindset. Here's what I need you to understand. This isn't a one-time thing. This is a mindset. This is a pattern. This is how you approach your entire career. The most financially successful people I know, not the ones who got lucky with Bitcoin or a tech IPO, but the ones who built sustainable, lasting wealth, they all share one characteristic. They never stop investing in their ability to create value. They're the 35-year-old who takes an advanced certification course. They're the 42-year-old who learns a new software platform. They're the 50-year-old who develops expertise in an emerging area of their field. They understand that your skills are like a garden. If you don't continuously cultivate them, they don't just stay the same. They atrophy. They become outdated. They lose value. Meanwhile, the market keeps moving. Technology keeps evolving. Younger people keep entering the workforce with fresh knowledge. If you're standing still, you're actually falling behind. So this isn't about making one investment and then coasting. This is about committing to being the kind of person who continuously grows, who continuously develops, who continuously increases their capacity to create value. And when you make that commitment, everything changes. Not just your income, your confidence, your optionality, your sense of control over your future, your ability to weather economic uncertainty. You stop feeling like a victim of circumstances and start feeling like an architect of your own financial future. The uncomfortable truth. Look, here's the thing that nobody wants to hear, but that needs to be said. The reason most people don't invest in themselves isn't actually about money or time or age. It's about fear. Fear of failure, fear of looking stupid, fear of being uncomfortable, fear of putting in effort and not getting the results you wanted. Fear of changing your identity from "I'm a person who is stuck" to "I'm a person who takes action." And I get it, fear is normal, fear is human, but you need to understand something. That fear is expensive. That fear is costing you thousands of dollars every single month. That fear is the reason you'll hit 55 years old and realize you're not where you wanted to be. And here's the really brutal truth. 5 years from now, you're going to be 5 years older regardless of what you do. You can't stop time. You can't pause aging. You can't freeze your life where it is. The only question is whether you're going to be 5 years older in the exact same financial position you're in right now, or whether you're going to be 5 years older making 40 to 60% more money because you invested in yourself. That's the choice. That's the only choice. The final challenge. So, here's what I want you to do. Right now, not tomorrow, not next week, right now. Within the next 24 hours, I want you to identify one skill that if you had, would increase your income by at least 20%, just one. Then I want you to find 3 people who have that skill and ask them how they learned it. What program did they use? How long did it take? What was the actual career impact? Then I want you to look at your budget and figure out how you're going to come up with the money to invest in learning that skill, even if it means cutting something else, even if it means financing it. And then, and this is the most important part, I want you to commit. I want you to make the decision that you are not going to let another year go by where you leave money on the table because you were too scared or too comfortable or too busy to invest in yourself. Because here's what I know with absolute certainty. 1 year from now, one of 2 things will be true. Either you'll be sitting here in the exact same place you are right now, making the same money, feeling the same frustration, having the same anxiety about your financial future, or you'll be sitting here having invested in yourself, having grown, having increased your earning capacity, and being on a completely different trajectory. The only difference between those 2 futures is the decision you make right now. Look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that investing in yourself is easy. It's not. It requires sacrifice. It requires discipline. It requires being uncomfortable. But you know what else is hard? Being 60 years old and realizing you can't afford to retire. Being 50 years old and getting passed over for promotions because your skills are outdated. Being 40 years old and feeling trapped in a job you hate because you don't have the credentials to leave. That's hard too. The difference is that one kind of hard leads somewhere, the other kind of hard leads to regret. So choose your hard. If this video changed how you think about investing in yourself, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want more content that's actually going to help you build real wealth instead of just making you feel good about being stuck. And drop a comment right now telling me what skill you're going to invest in. Make it public. Make yourself accountable. Because the investment everyone ignores until it's too late isn't some exotic financial product. It's not real estate or crypto or some secret stock pick. It's you. It's your human capital. It's your ability to earn money. And unlike the stock market, unlike real estate, unlike any other investment, this is the one asset you have complete control over. The one asset that can never be taxed away, never stolen, never lost in a market crash. So invest in it, protect it, grow it, make it your priority. My name is Jack, and I'll see you in the next one.